with Stan and Lee and Lee's wife, Robin, on Wednesday. And looking for folks to ride on Thursday. So if anybody's going to be down in that area, I'm going to park up at Mount Holly in Rutland, out south of Rutland, to ride on Thursday.
If I'm caught up with my snow chores, I'll ride with you on Thursday, Cindy.
Perfect. I'd love that, Ivor.
Okay.
Hey, Ivor,
Yes.
we're all good for Monday night for Lemoyle County?
Yep.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Cindy, the meeting is live streaming and you are host.
Thank you. I will watch for people coming in, and I'll start recording once we go live. I don't see Tim. Tim, are you on?
I don't see him.
Let's see.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Kurt.
Hi, Kurt.
What are we doing?
Here comes Doug Jacobs. Here comes Jeff. Here comes Tim. Kurt, I was saying that right before you got on that I'm going to be riding out of Mount Holly on Thursday.
You are?
I am.
What time are you coming down?
I'm actually staying in Weston. I'm riding on Wednesday in Chester, Windsor County.
Yeah.
And then I'm staying in Weston, and I'm going to drive up to Mount Holly and ride out of Mount Holly
Nice.
on Thursday. So I know you're
Wow.
busy, but if you've got time and want to join, sounds like Ivor is going to try to join.
Cool. Anybody else?
No,
No. Where do you want to go?
I don't care.
You want to
I just want to tour around. Yeah,
head over towards Pittsfield?
sure.
You know, I've only been out once. I've got 80 whopping miles on, but
Yeah.
no problem. I think I might be able to find time. Let's see what I can do.
Okay. Well, just we can text or whatever, or talk tomorrow, or or
right.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Tim, I think you have most everybody here, and it's 6:01, and so I'm going to go ahead and start recording once I figure out how to do it. There we go.
Jim?
We are now recording.
It's 6:01. We'll call the meeting to order. Recognition of visitors. Is Cindy writing down names? Cindy Brown?
She should be,
Should be. All right. Should be all set there for that.
and I'll take some notes too.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? I'd like a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Rutland County will make a motion.
Second,
Pittman will second.
any further discussion on the agenda? Any changes, any corrections, modifications? All right, hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Motion carries. Secretary's report from the previous meeting, December's meeting minutes. I trust everybody's had a chance to read them. I'd like a motion to approve. You're muted, Jim. And,
Carmen's got a question.
yep,
Well, I'm waiting for
You
it
have
to
to
be,
wait.
I guess, motion
yep,
for discussion.
yep. I'd like a motion on them.
Pittman County will move to approve.
Can you get a second?
Rutland County.
All right, Carmen.
I noticed on here, there's under the approval agenda, there's two. There's one for a motion that says Rutland moved and Lemoyle seconded. And then if you go over to the next one, it says Essex moved and Rutland seconded. So I'm wondering which motion was actually the correct one. It's under the approval of the agenda.
Right.
Or
Well,
maybe I
one-
missed something.
Well, one was the agenda and one was the secretary's report, correct?
Okay, maybe
Yes.
okay. Oh, maybe
Yep.
it cut it off on mine then. Okay. That's okay. I just had to ask. I thought, because I was reading it differently. So, okay. That was all I had.
All right, thanks, Carmen. Any other corrections or additions? Patty?
Yeah, I was there. So there was no report, but I was at the meeting.
Okay,
Said you were.
yeah, you're right. It does say you were not able to make the meeting. All right, so we can make that correction. Are there any other adjustments to the meeting minutes?
Yeah, Tim, Orleans County.
Yep,
I specifically asked for the minutes to reflect the Orleans County to request VAST, the staff to look into talking to Polaris and BRP about obtaining GPS data, and that wasn't written in there. So that's fine as long as it's on record in the recorded YouTube video. That's all that matters.
It was not, we did not record last month, so we are looking into it and talking to them, but we don't always say everything that's in a meeting, but I do remember that you requested that. So I think we should update the minutes to reflect that.
Thank you.
any other additions or changes to the previous month's meeting minutes? All right,
Wait, quick question, Tim. If we're gonna change the minutes to include the request by Roger, can we can't actually really approve them, can we? If we're going to be adding a whole section or a note?
you can approve them because he verbally said them in front of everybody.
Okay.
It's not a change, it's a correction.
Right.
What are you trying to do? Yeah, I love you too, but I don't understand what you're trying to do here. Made your uncle mad, didn't you? Yeah.
Julianne, you might want to mute.
Sorry.
We love you too, Julianne.
At least introduce us to the dog.
He has in the past. She's told.
This is Miss Stella.
Perfect. Welcome to VAST, Stella.
All right.
All right, all those in favor of the corrections to the secretary's report from the last meeting, say aye.
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 Those against, nay? Motion carries with the corrections. All right, thank you. Treasurer's report. No, we were.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Who?
Do I have to do November and then December?
Yes, because we were off a month.
Okay, I'm just making sure. I have notes, but I just
Yep.
want to make sure.
Yep. no,
Okay,
you
so I'll
gotta
do
fire
November
through
1st.
both of them. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do November 1st. Just
And
at a
so-
membership,
So one quick question though, do we need to vote on them separately?
Jim.
I would.
Okay, so let's go through the November, Patty, and then we'll make a motion to approve. We'll have discussion, final vote, and then we'll go on to December. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right. I'm just going to highlight a few things. For November memberships, just as a reminder, I'm going to round numbers as well. The budget's about $2.5 million. And during the month of November, we brought in $276,000. And for the season through November was $469,000. So we were negative about a little over $2 million. So we were at 90% of what we were budgeted for our membership in November. You'll see December changes drastically. All right, for income on our finances, we budget 3.25 million. During the month of November, we had 304K income. And for the season so far at the end of November was 550K. So we were about 17% of our expected income through the end of November. And for expenses, our budget is 2.8. We had activity about 83K. And for the season, about 208K. So we were about 7% of our expenses. So that's what we had overall. So November, we're just really just starting to get some motion going there. So that's it for November's.
Okay, thank you, Patty. Can I get a motion to approve on November's treasury report?
Rutland County.
Washington County moves to accept the November treasurer's report.
Did you second, Kurt?
Yes.
Any questions for Patty on the November treasurer's report? All right, here and then we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the November's treasurer's report as presented, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. December, Patty?
And December is much more exciting. Okay, so December, again, the budget's just too shy of 2.5 million. We had a monthly activity of 1.3, almost 1.4 million. So that was a huge increase. And year to date was 1.8. So we're just shy of our memberships, about 619,000. And we have about 75% through December of our budgeted membership. So I think that's pretty good. For income under the finances, again, 3.25 million is our income expectation. For the month of December, we brought in 1.4, almost 1.5, and 1.3 came from membership, obviously. So for the season so far, about $2 million in income. So we're short about 1.25 million in income. So we've got about 61% of our income for the budget for this year.
I'm sorry, what
And
was
then
that?
expenses, 61%, almost 62, somewhere in between there. 61.57 if you want to be exact. And then expenses, the budget is 2.8. We had 354,000 in expense activity. And just during the month of December, Trails took 235K of that in expenses, of which an 80 of that 235 was in grooming expenses. And also in the general fund, we had 53K for TMA and credit cards. And so far for the year, we have 73K that's been an expense for that item. But that's 64% of the line item for expenses that we put there. And I think that's pretty good when you look at, we're at 75% of our membership and only 64% of our budgeted for the expense on that one line item. So great planning on those who set that budget. It wasn't me, but those who set that budget for this year, your numbers are really good there. So we're at about 20% of our expenses. So we don't have a lot of expenses that are really just starting to kick in. Where our biggest thing here was really in our income, which was the membership through the month of December.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Essex County moves.
Chittenden County seconds.
Thank you. Any discussion on the December treasurer's report?
Can I just add that I think Patty's doing a great job, and I want to thank her.
I would
Very
like
much.
to say that too. Very great job, Patty.
I agree.
Thanks. I
Awesome.
panic all day in preparation of this meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Cindy Locke, I did send you this summary, so if whoever's taking minutes, they can pull from that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I think, and honestly, Patty, your summary is so inclusive of a lot of great information that I think we should start including that in the board packet. So let's talk about that in the future, okay? Because I think that they're throwing a lot of numbers out at them that are really important. And that would be great for them to have to bring back to their county.
Well, I think that it's easy too, because they're cut and dry numbers. It's easy to explain.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Chairman?
I'm just wondering, I haven't seen like the little TMA report that you normally kind of send in the board packets. Are we not getting those anymore?
No, we're still developing them. We've been spending a lot of time right now changing over from accrual or from cash to accrual basis, and then getting the reports to jive with our database online TMA system. That's also why you didn't get financials until I sent them myself today. And so once that's all resolved, they'll finish working on those reports, and they will start to become part of the monthly board packet.
Can you show us your updated dashboard?
Sure. You want to see that? I actually have the number too. I checked it this morning. It was minus the refunds, because the refunds show up on this report, so it's a little different, but it's 20,055 is where we're at.
20,055. That's awesome.
Yeah, it really
Total?
is. Total as of this morning, minus the refunds. And refunds are for a variety of reasons. They're somebody did something wrong and they've done it twice kind of thing because of the online system. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I can't. The cat's in the way.
Oh, well, that's your problem, Pat. All right. So it says 12,148. This is when I refreshed it today at 10:17 a.m. But again, I took out the duplicates, the refunds. So it's really 20,055. But it'll show you. So on the left, it gives you an idea of how many we've sold, early bird in state, early bird out of state. And then these are, there's volunteer, family, and then these are our regular season. So regular season in state is 2,575. Regular season out of state is 1,156. I apologize, I don't have the report in front of me from last year. I asked Sheila for the totals, but it was after 4 o'clock. And I think she had been done for the day because she usually starts working at 6. So here I'm scrolling through the clubs. You can see what the club numbers are so far. I'll try to do it slow so you can capture your club if you're interested.
I would like to see a scan on that.
Yeah, I'll keep working down. So again, you will start getting those reports like you used to get.
Will we start seeing those in February, or will it be later? Do you know? Do you have a kind of a
No,
date?
we should start seeing them next month. Yeah, we're caught up with other things. It's just, it takes a lot to, it took a lot to move the accounting system. It just happened at a bad time when we were starting the online system as well. So that we had to move all the accounting over to another system. But, you can call me anytime. If you want a report for any county, they can get a hold of me and I can ask Beth to run, a report specific for your county if you have a county meeting.
Well, I would love one. We have one Monday night. I mean, I'd love to be able to just kind of include it in my report.
I would like
Sure.
to see it too. That'd be awesome.
All right. Well, you guys just send me an email or send Beth and I an email and we'll get that to you.
Okay.
No problem.
Cindy, can you just send out a general report to the board for all the clubs, total TMAs, or is that too much work?
No, it's not too much work. We're just building the report right now. So that's the only delay. It's not that it's a bunch of work. It's just that we had to wait until we got the other stuff done to be able to put that report together. So
All right.
No, it's not. So on the left here, you see the counties. And it does round it off, but when I scroll over it, so it says Bennington County 2.3, but when I scroll over it, you can see it's actually 2,260. Roger, for you, it says 2K, but it's 1,994. Lamoille 560. It's really just rounds when you get up into the thousands. So right now it looks like Windsor County 2,852, with Essex County as a close second. Anyway.
Boy, that's a nice breakdown of that data to have.
Mm-hmm. And I think those reports are really important. We're used to looking at it every month. So I'm sorry for the delay. It's just been a little, busy getting all the other stuff up and going and with the finance system. But anyway, I totally hijacked the treasurer's report. We haven't even finished that. Sorry.
Yeah, we approved them.
Oh, okay.
No, we
No,
didn't.
we didn't.
Not yet.
We're still in discussion on December.
Oh, so it was just November we approved.
Yes.
Sorry
No,
about
I
that.
got my done. I got my approval first. I don't.
Is there any more discussion on a December treasurer's report? All right, hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the December's treasurer report, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Patty. Tabled items, there are none. Consent calendars, nothing there. Old business trail policy manual update, Matt.
Actually, I'm gonna take that.
All right, Jeff.
In your packet, there was a set of minutes from the Trails Committee meeting. And the policy changes are discussed in that. The big one was the lean period. It was, it was what, 8 years and 4,000 hours. The Trails Committee decided to change that from and to or for class 1, 2, and 3, and do the same for class 4. That one was miles and hours, I believe, versus years and hours. So that's the first one. Then we had one about Trails coordinators signing off on their own projects. It should be, so it was suggested that they be a co-signer along with the county director. That way that if there's something going on within their own club, they're still aware of it. So we can take those as separate motions, or we can do them both at the same time. Doesn't matter to me either way, but those were the recommendations from the Trails Committee.
I thought we had a previous arrangement for that, for coordinators doing work for their own clubs. Must be it wasn't in writing.
No, it was set up that the county director could sign, but evidently there was a possible situation that the trails coordinator did not know what was going on in his own club, because it was going directly from the club to the county director and bypassing the trails coordinator within his own club.
Sounds like an internal communications problem.
Yep. Carmen?
Well, first of all, I'm gonna have to agree with Pat on that comment. But my other question was going to be, in Lamoille County, we have an alternate trails coordinator. So that would be the person that would go to sign off in that case, instead of coming to the director. And I get that maybe not all clubs have that. So now are we gonna have to have a policy or something in writing for any clubs that have that?
The way the policy reads right now,
As a designated, so.
as designated, yep. Let's see.
That would be,
Authorized agent as outlined in the corresponding counties bylaws or as approved by the Fast Trails Administrator. So it's yeah, I agree. It's a matter of internal communication. But it was brought up and it was discussed, and that was their recommendation, is that if the Trails Coordinators Club has a project, it needs to be reviewed and signed by the county director and co-signed by the Trails Coordinator or an approved agent. So that would be your Assistant Trails Coordinator or your North Trails Coordinator, your South Trails Coordinator, your East or your West Trails Coordinator. It was mainly so the Trails Coordinator was kept in the loop of what was going on in his own club.
okay. And now my second question is gonna be then, are you adjusting the form then to add a line signature then for a co-signer?
No, they can both sign on the same line.
Yeah, exactly. That was actually brought up at the meeting, and that was the same suggestion. They just need to write a little bit smaller. They can write side by side. Don't have to be 6 feet apart.
Okay,
They do have to be 6 feet apart, but the signature doesn't.
That's what I was referring to. Sorry. So
I'm gonna need a motion in a second, Jeff, before we go to the discussion.
do we want separate motions for the 2 changes? So it's not a blanket approval?
There's no reason to have more than one motion.
Yeah,
Well,
seems
that's how we got in
prudent
this predicament in the first place.
Oh,
Seems
why
prudent to
don't,
have all in one.
why
I
don't
don't
we
want to
have,
be
a
accused of pulling the wool over anybody's eyes.
right? Why don't we have a motion in a second so we can open the floor the rest of the way?
Oh, did we have a first and a second?
No, but we're looking for
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought that's what you said. Sorry, Tim.
No, I'm looking for one now.
Chittenden County moves to approve the recommended changes to the lien period.
Wyndham County seconds it.
So just the lien period.
Well, they're under the same paragraph from what I'm seeing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the lien period?
What is the, what is the thinking by changing that to or versus and?
Sorry, I'm taking my 3 separate breaths. It was a matter of clubs not being able to meet both criteria before they requested a loan. So the way it was written, it was 8 years and 4,000 hours. The recommendation is to change the and to or, so it's 8 years or 4,000 hours. So someone can request a grant prior to 8 years if they have 4,000 hours on their machine.
Correct. Makes sense. Pretty cut and dry.
It was felt that the 8 years and 4,000 hours was too strict of a criteria.
Well, it opens up a little bit of area if a club is in a better financial position to possibly upgrade also, instead of holding them back. Any other questions on that first section of that paragraph? All right, any comments or questions about the county trails coordinator having the county director sign off on their own club's projects?
Are we, now it sounded like he just said the changes of the
I
lien.
know, I know, but he did say that it was in the same paragraph. So if there's any disagreement on it, we will separate them. If there's not, then we'll vote them together.
So personally, having to go back in past minutes to find things, it's much cleaner to have them separate. Much easier to find.
Okay, we can separate it.
The motion was made on the lien period.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Nothing to do with the co-signing of the project.
Right.
All right, we can stick with the original motion. Any further discussion on the lien waiting period? And then we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the changes to the lien waiting period, say aye.
aye.
Those against, nay. The lien period changes pass. I get a motion on the second portion.
I'd like to make a motion on the second portion for the county trails coordinator and the county director sign off on projects.
Second,
Washington County seconds.
any discussion on the county trails coordinator signing off on their own projects portion? All right, all those in favor of approving the changes to the county trails coordinator signing off on their own club's projects portion, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, Jeff, sorry. And I understand what you were saying, Mark. It does make it easier to look things up in the past. They were, however, caught up in the same paragraph. New business, long-range planning committee meeting update. Mark.
Oh, I guess that's me. Where do you want to start, Cindy and Jeff? We have a meeting tomorrow with several clubs about ice crossings.
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Why did I think today was the 26th? Either way.
It was my mistake. I got it confused a couple of times. It even says on the agenda the meeting's tomorrow. It's Wednesday.
We've sent out an invitation, and Cindy, did you see Roger's request to have Island Pond have Brighton added?
Yeah, and I'm not sure. I didn't reply because I'm not sure why. I want to check with Matt because apparently I thought Brighton closed that water crossing a few years ago and put those signs up in the groomer barn. So I'm only thinking since Dave Page passed away that consequently those signs got mistakenly put out again. But that ice crossing got closed like 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm not sure why we would include Brighton, but I'm happy to do so. I realize they have 3 water crossings on the lake, but they're not our crossings.
The recommendation from the legal counsel was to close all trails in proximity to the lakes. So that would then close Trail 114C, which crosses the common right next to Island Pond.
No, it's only crossing up to, like, if it goes to a business, that's different. You know, if it's leading to a business that happens to be on the lake, then there just needs to be, I mean, obviously we're going to discuss this on Wednesday night, but that was the reasoning for not getting a hold of Brighton, was those were already closed.
Brighton needs to be included. They have a trail that goes across the lake, whether it's a vast sanctioned trail or not. They have a trail that goes across the lake. I've been across it 10 times in the last 2 weeks. And currently, as I mentioned, the legal counsel is recommending that any trails that lead towards lakes or in the vicinity of lakes be closed. That would be Trail 114C, which runs along Lake Island Pond. So it needs to be closed. So that's why I'm asking, they need to be notified. And I talked to Reno tonight and he wants to be notified of the meeting and he wants to be included in the meeting.
Okay, I think the idea was to close them if they're only leading to the lake. If they're leading to a business or a parking lot or something like that, that's different. That's not what legal counsel said. If it's a trail that just is specifically leading to the lake for no other reason but to get to the lake, was what they have recommended.
So this trail that runs within 20 feet of the junction of Trail 114C and 2001 are right within 40 feet of the lake shore. Mm-hmm. That's fine. If people just leave that and go across the lake, that's fine. Vast isn't leading them to the lake.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have other ones. We have other bodies of water that the same thing. And a trail leads down to a restaurant that's on a body of water, or to a gas station that's near a body of water, that if someone then chooses to go across the lake, but we're not leading them to the lake, we're leading them to the gas station, or we're leading them to a parking area. I think that's the idea.
Right. So we're going to close lake crossings we're going to close trails that lead to locals that live along the lake. But if it's a business, it's okay, but locals aren't.
Well, I think we should talk about, we can talk about it now. I don't care when we talk about it, but I don't know that Mark.
If it's only there for the locals, then it's a private trail.
Right.
It's not a private trail. It's a vast trail. Vast trails were started for locals back in the day. They created trails, and vast was started by the local clubs. So that's what we're forgetting. And if you want to talk about this Wednesday, we can. I'm fine with that. But that's the big issue here. That's what we're forgetting.
No, I don't think we're forgetting that at all. And I don't care when we talk about it.
Well, we're going to be talking about it Wednesday again. So I don't think we need to get in depth tonight. We understand what you're saying, Roger. It's not like we're trying to be, Jesus, we understand what you're saying. We're not trying to cut anyone out.
Right.
We're trying to respond to.
Yes, we are. And Orleans County, on the record, is taking this very personally. And quite frankly, Essex County is not saying much because Island Pond's not being included. There's no other lakes in Essex County that are being included. So that's why I want Island Pond included. Reno had no idea any of this was going on. And they need to be included.
Which is fine. You're right. There's trails around that lake. There's a parking area on the lake. And you're right. It should be signed as it's not vast trails that cross the lake. We know that. I get you saying we're serving local, but we cannot have a trail going across the lake. It's just simple as that. It's plain as day.
We don't. Our trails dead end at the lake. Once they get on the lake, it is a state highway.
Correct.
It is a legal state highway. They are registered motor vehicles through the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles. They are registered vehicles. They are allowed to go on the state highway. If they go through the ice,
I suggest you talk
not
to the
allowed
state
to sue.
Because
Well,
they have
I would
no
love
interest.
to talk to the state, but I'm not included in any of these meetings that the VAST office is having with the state. And the VAST office doesn't care about ice crossings, so they're not including the locals in these meetings. That's the problem. So I'm going to be contacting my local legislators who are going to be looking into this, because Berlin does not care about Orleans County or Essex County. It's very clear.
Yeah, that's right.
That's not true.
We don't care about any of it. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's all we don't care about anything.
Thank you.
I'm tired of hearing that from you. It's insulting. I snowmobile all over the state, Roger. So yes, I do care. It's very difficult to try to balance these things. And it's ridiculous for you to stand up there after having nearly 6 years to work on things and still point fingers at us and say, we're trying to single you out. No, we're not. I'm sorry, but that's just the simple truth. We're trying to find the best solution. And it involves a lot of things. Not just, well, we can't get across, we got to go 20 minutes out of the way. Sorry. We're trying to save the entire organization some headache here, not just you. I'm sorry that you feel that way.
I understand that. But again, give me, other than the Dunmore incident, give me examples of where our liability insurance has gone up because of ice crossings in the Northeast Kingdom. You won't find them.
Other than our insurance agency, who we're required to have insurance, give me examples of other insurance companies that will give us a policy.
That's not my job. That's the VAST staff's job to find that out.
So the same insurance, there's one insurance company that deals with ski areas. There's one insurance company that deals with us. The same insurance company deals with racetracks. They're very limited to none. And when they tell you have to do something, until we find a better solution, we've got to toe their line, unfortunately.
Fine.
So we've decided to have this meeting to work with you guys to figure out a solution. Your email had some very good solutions that we've also been talking about. And then to come on here to say, we don't care about you, we don't care, it's frankly insulting. You know, it's ridiculous. No one here works any less or any more than the other. We're all volunteers. We all care about the organization from freaking Canaan down to Bennington. And to hear that we don't is ridiculous.
I'm insulted when I'm told by VAST to get my own insurance as a club. But that's the reason VAST was started, was to provide that insurance to the clubs.
And we can't provide that insurance if we have those lake crossings, trails leading down to the lake. What what else is there to, what don't you understand about that?
What I understand is we're approaching this the same way that the Act 250 happened with the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. We're blowing it off. And you know what? It took Kenny Gamble. I miss him because every meeting he said, we do not fall under Act 250. And you know what? It finally took myself and him to say, hey, let's look into it. And finally we looked into it. And guess what? We don't fall under Act 250. So we start closing lake crossings in Orleans County, and now Orleans County, Essex County, and now our trail systems start falling apart up here. Let's see what happens to our local businesses. Let's see what happens to the support of the state. I bet you they'll probably start looking into it. But I don't know because I'm not involved with those meetings.
First off, all the lake crossings are not in Orleans County and Essex County. And VAST didn't start we didn't start VAST to make sure that we could insure clubs. In the last 2 years, we've lost our insurance. We had to beg for it back. The only thing that saved us was the Safety Ambassador Program. It went up $50,000 one year and almost $75,000 another year. We don't have any more chances. And we have been told by lawyers and told by the insurance company to close the feeder trails that lead down to these areas. We have other trails that also lead to where locals live. And as Jim pointed out, those can be private trails. This is nothing that the VAST office is sitting on and not working on. We had a very long meeting with the state, with 3 agencies a few weeks ago. And now I'm expecting to get a contract from them to indemnify them from all the lake crossings as well, even though they're sovereign because of that meeting. So this is no one's going after Orleans County. I agree with Mark, and I apologize if you think that the VAST office is after you guys. This was the reason that this came up again is because I brought it up because 5 or 6 years ago, it came up that the Trails Committee voted to close all ice crossings in the state of Vermont. It was brought to the board. The board decided to give those counties and those clubs time. It's my responsibility to come back to the board and say, don't forget, you guys voted on this years ago. You want to revisit it.
And our insurance has more than doubled in the last 10 years.
Yes, I understand that. But is it because of lake crossing incidents?
Does it matter?
It does.
If someone says, here's the conditions we will insure you under, and one of them happens to be lake crossings, then it behooves us to make sure we meet those conditions, right?
We are providing trails to properties that border the lake, no different than a fishing access. When I drive my vehicle out onto that lake from that fishing access, I am on a state highway. If I go through, I can sue nobody. That should be the same thing for snowmobiles. When I go out there, if somebody's going out there ice fishing and they leave from a fishing access with no VAST TMA, all they are is registered and they're on the lake, they can sue nobody.
Roger, philosophically, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. But that's not the reality that's not the ground truth we're dealing with.
Well,
right? It's just not.
I think we need to get new legal counsel. We need to do something differently. We need to talk to we need to talk to the state. We need to tell them how important the trails are to our system, how important these lake crossings are to our system. The unfortunate thing is nobody down at the VAST office understands that.
I'm sorry. I take offense to that. I'm sorry.
I think we got to get this under control here.
Yeah, we really do, because that's ridiculous.
It's true.
That's a bad statement.
What do you mean by that, Roger? What do you mean?
He wants to keep cutting our throats and piss us off, and then he'll wonder why we're going to even stomp more to close. It's just being pig-headed. There's no reason to be that way. I've
Point of
been here
order,
on
we
business.
get
This
on
is
with the meeting.
crazy.
Okay, Tim, can we move on?
Thank you.
Would you like to wrap up your comments, Mark, on the long range planning committee meeting?
So the other things that we have in the fryer is obviously changes next year for the online TMA, and we also are doing more exploring about self-insurance, captive insurance, for being our own insurance provider. So there's that, and that's it.
Carmen,
I just had a quick question. I'm just wondering on this meeting that you're all having on Wednesday night, are you planning on having any legal? Is an attorney planning on being there or anything?
No, we already have our responses from our attorney. When Roger's talking about attorneys being educated, he's talking about the attorneys that the insurance companies hire to represent us. So our attorney has already submitted a letter that was sent out to these clubs in the county. And I thought I sent it all out to the board, but I'll send it all out to you tomorrow. There's a letter from the attorney, a letter from the insurance company, and other information that I've been sending out to these different counties and clubs. Let me back up 1 second here. So this came up in February, and we were going to discuss it in March. It was on the agenda for March, but then COVID hit, so we tabled everything. So I've had these letters and things like that for a while. So what we're trying to do on Wednesday night is just really meet with the clubs to talk about their challenges, to describe everything that's going on, talk about their challenges, and then try to see if we can find some solutions with them, and then come to the board for a decision. But I will follow up, since it came out tonight more in depth, with those documents, and send them to the board tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I would just like to say to all of you that are involved, I hope that you can keep it civil. I understand that you're all passionate about what we do. And Roger, I understand what you're saying about businesses up there. They've taken a hit with the whole COVID thing as it is. And I get that. I've been visiting up there a lot just because my son's up there now, but I understand where your stress level comes from. But please just keep it civil. We're all on the same team, please.
The toughest part from what I see is his frustration and mine, because we've got our Star Lake crossing, and Star Lake is not a deep lake. If you do go through the ice, we've never had anybody in the 25 years I've been involved with snowmobiling, and we used to have drag races with tons of vehicles on the ice go through the ice. It's the classification of a frozen lake to the state of Vermont as a state highway. So it just seems to me that the state could be willing to step up and help us with that. I mean, the Dunmore incident was very unfortunate, and we certainly, none of us want to see that. None of us want to see our insurance go up. That's all I got.
I would suggest, and Roger had a good idea, contact your local representatives, and that's what we need to do. We need to have that, because there's no way the state with their risk management people are going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. They were the Fish and Wildlife and the animal people that we met with were no. And in fact, they said, when you talk to transportation, they will say it's only for the ability to enforce things like DUI and stuff on the lake. It goes no further than that. That's because our hope obviously was that that's a good way to look at it. It's a highway. It should be treated like a highway. And
correct.
In that meeting, that was the attorneys from FPR and attorneys from Fish and Wildlife and the deputy commissioner of financial regulation, which does all the insurance for the state of Vermont. Like Mark said, they don't want to touch us with a 10-foot pole. And now because of this meeting, we're probably going to get contracts like we do for state lands to indemnify them even more to make sure that they're not liable for anything. And they did point out that it's a state highway, so they could do DWIs and speed limits. That's the only reason bodies of waters are called state highways, is what we learned.
Any other questions for Mark on the Long Range Planning Committee? Mark, you had some final thoughts?
I was gonna say, we're not done talking to people like transportation, because again, we're looking for solutions. That's what's being lost here. We're looking for solutions, and we're not done talking to people like transportation to see if we can come up with a solution. But at this point, this is where we're at, and it was voted on 6 years ago and decided. So.
All right, thank you, Mark. Let's move on to the TMA program update, Cindy.
Yeah, just real quick. Everything's going fine. Their TMAs are still coming in. The biggest hiccup we're having is the postal service. I mean, Cindy Brown was saying that she mailed a guy a map from our office in Barry to his home in Barry, and it took 3 weeks. So we're continuously sending out temporary TMAs to those folks that haven't gotten them in the mail. But it has nothing to do with our end. It's all in the postal service. So if you have anyone that says it's been a while and they haven't gotten it and they want to ride, please put them in touch with me and Beth and I, so we can get them a temporary. And I did just want to say that Sheila did just send me last year's numbers. So we are 701 off from last year right now.
That's amazing.
I know, pretty awesome. So the snow is really saving our bacon this year.
And the
Nice.
temps are great.
Yeah.
Holy.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Helicopter landing zone, Roger and Stan.
Yeah, I'll let Roger. Roger's got all the specifics and the details for that.
Yep, Roger.
Stan, do you have that PDF you can throw, or Cindy, you got the PDF you can throw up on the screen of the sign design?
Yeah, let me look for it. Go ahead and talk, and I'll see if I can find it here. You sent it to me in an email, right?
Yeah. So we decided to
Somebody has background
standardize.
noise. Can they turn it off? Because I can't hear Roger very well, or whoever's talking.
I think it's Mike Burns. Mike Burns, yeah.
So we decided to try to standardize a helicopter landing zone sign so that it would be something standard across the state, that if riders were to see it, they could use it as a geolocator to call in locations of where they are to 911. And this is what we came up with. You can see it on the screen. It's essentially, these are the standards that Dartmouth Hitchcock Air Response Team and which is also UVM Medical Center. They dispatch for UVM Medical Center, HealthNet. These are the specs that they require, basically the name of the landing zone, the coordinates, the town, and the county. So that's the sign that you see in front of you there. So we have a landing zone that we're kind of using as a pilot program in technically Essex County, but it's on Drift Dusters Trails in Ben Cole Clearing in the Bill Slatic Wildlife Management Area. And that's kind of where we wanted to start with it. So that's what we came up with there. So basically this would be if a club has a good spot for a landing zone, we would provide them with a form that they could fill out and provide to VAST, and VAST would send it to E911 to put onto the E911 map, and as well as the Dartmouth Hitchcock dispatcher, the communications coordinator. He would put it into his system as well. And so that if anybody called in the so-called Ben Cole Clearing landing zone or the VAST landing zone #1, he could look on a spreadsheet and it would give them the exact coordinates of where they need to be. So that's basically it. Just the standardization of landing zone signage throughout the state.
Roger, how many LZs are we looking to establish?
I think we need to, I mean, there's there's hundreds of landing zones throughout the state, but they're not all accessible from the vast trail system. So I think we were just kind of relying on clubs to notify vast if they have one that
If we have a viable
qualifies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if Cindy can pull up the actual information sheet or the form that they would fill out, but on that it would also show it shows the specs for what they require. And one of, it's going to be 100 by 100, free of thick brush, packed down snow if possible, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They really don't. They're not fussy about what they require. The key is just to make sure that there's a continuous line of communication between VAST, E911, and the local responders. So I think it would be, up to the clubs to contact the local responders and let them know, hey, this is what we have set up. This is where it is. And by the way, 911 and Dartmouth Hitchcock Communications is also aware of this as well. So it's just, it's just a start to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Yep. Cindy, can you send us a copy of this, please?
Yeah, I can forward you. This is an email from Roger. I'm happy to forward it to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Sure.
And from the safety committee's view, for instance, Chester has a helicopter landing zone now, and it is identified. But there's a lot to be said for visual cues and for consistency in visual cues. And having a sign like that snowmobilers will begin to recognize what it is. When they do come into an emergency situation, they're more apt to be able to remember where they were and how to access one if those signs are uniform and consistent.
Absolutely.
I'll send this out to the entire board tomorrow.
So Stan, is the committee looking for board approval on this?
Well, I guess I have to ask the question: is that the policy, right? Does the board need to approve this as a formal program, or if it does, then I would say that the safety committee is asking for the board to vote on it and to approve this program.
Carmen, you had a question.
Well, just a question is, I guess Roger or Stan can answer this. Are these signs, who's paying for these signs, may I ask? Not that I'm saying this is I like this idea. I'm just curious, would it be the club's responsibility to pay to get these signs, or where's that funding coming from for this?
It would come from us. I mean, these are landing zones. So this isn't like a club. This isn't like a restaurant or a store. This is like an emergency service landing zone. So we'll find it somewhere in one of our safety budgets or something.
Kind of rates right up there with a stop sign.
Yeah. And it's not like we're looking at hundreds of these, I don't believe.
Right.
So
No,
I think it's a great idea, Stan. Where do you guys plan on putting them around the landing zone? What is how do you identify that it's that direction, or where does the furthest out sign start? Or
Well, I think based on that 100 by 100 clear area, that you would mark that off, you would identify that, and then you would put this sign on the edge of that. You would be at least 50 feet from the center of that landing zone. And then, like, I'm thinking about our particular site, we would need one sign because you could see it coming from both directions on the trail. You'd be able to see that sign, and there is a sign there now. It's just that it's not a uniform sign, and it's not as bright and visible. So we would only need one. I think there may be some places where you might need to put a couple of them, maybe even 3 of them, depending on how the trails access it. But I think each one is going to be handled differently.
I can say for this landing zone in particular, we would need 2 because it's It is just off the junction where Northeast Kingdom Snow Blasters and Drift Dusters turn around. Like we actually turn around in that clearing, but it's not right on the trail. So we would need two signs, one with an arrow, basically that information with an arrow pointing towards the landing zone, and then one marking the landing zone. Or quite frankly, we could get away with just one marking with an arrow pointing towards the landing zone, and then, you know, people would figure it out from there. I know our club is fine with, you know, if Fast only wants to fund one sign and we have to buy additional ones, that's fine as well. I think the goal is to standardize the signs to make sure that, you know, no matter where you are in the state, you see that red color, you see that the helicopters, the Vast logo, and you know, okay, there's a landing zone there with the appropriate information in it. That's kind of the goal. So, I mean, funding, you know, I don't think, as Stan mentioned, I don't think there's going to be a lot of signs that need to be ordered per se. I mean, the other landing zone that we've talked about in our county specifically is the one in Irisburg, right in the common, the village common. That's been used twice already in the last year, once during the summer, but once also during the winter. And that one, you could put the sign right on the trail, and the trail literally drives through the landing zone specifically. So I think it's kind of situationally dependent on where the landing zone is, as to how many signs you need, but it's not an extravagant amount of signs at all. The other thing we're trying to figure out and clean up is that there are some landing zones. For example, Lunenburg Polar Bears has a landing zone at the intersection of the pipeline and the power line that they're actually asking to remove. They're not sure why that's listed as a landing zone, but there are high voltage power lines in the area that would not make sense. So on the 911 map, it lists that intersection. I don't remember the number. It's EX something is listed as a landing zone. They're asking for that to be removed because there's no way you could safely land a helicopter there. So we're just trying to kind of standardize the system and make things a little bit more clearer for everybody.
Oh, I appreciate that. I just didn't know. They're going to go on the Vast app so people can pull it up on their phone if they're part of the response. I just didn't know how far out whether you were going to go to the junctions around it or to point the correct direction or what the deal was. But I agree with the initial standardization of the signs so that they're all the same, obviously.
If you see these
I just want to mention real quick too, like I was talking to Ken a while ago about trying to make an additional sort of layer in the Vast app about, you know, we could have a layer specifically for landing zones in the Vast app. Of course, the E911 map has its own layer as well. And then, you know, just trying to make it so that people kind of know where these are. I mean, people specifically with this Ben Cole clearing, I mean, hundreds of snowmobilers drive by there during the normal season with good conditions every day. So people would see it, they'd remember it. It's just kind of like a recognition kind of thing. So I don't think we need to go like crazy with, you know, putting it 4 junctions away. I think if the club wants to do that, that's great. Maybe Vast could provide the original sign marking the landing zone. And then if clubs want to purchase more, that's on them. That's an idea as well.
Yep. No, I was just kind of curious. I mean, not everybody keeps their cool when there's an emergency going on.
So, Roger?
If you go to Maine where they use this quite a bit, they have small signs on the trail that point to the closest LZ and give you the number of the LZ. So you know where to go if you have an accident on the trail, you know the closest LZ. The LZ is marked with something similar to what you have, but there'll be a small diamond with a number on it and an arrow pointing to the closest one.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Kurt?
Roger, is it ideal? I mean, my thought is we've got when the Plymouth Trail is open, and even right now with it closed, the Stone House up in Shrewsbury, that whole area is just like heavily ridden, lots of tight and twisties, but there is a great spot up there by the Stone House for a landing zone. But it is, a number of miles away from the hard pavement. It's way off trail. But in my mind's eye, a good location for one and just one in the county that I could think of. Is it more ideal to have it closer to asphalt?
No, I mean, you like this one specifically, the Ben Cole clearing is like 6 miles off of Route 114 in Norton.
Yep.
It's fine. I mean, the most important thing is, one, the first responders know it's there. 911 knows it's there, and DART knows it's there. So no matter which helicopter they dispatch, whether it's from UVM Medical Center or Dartmouth, they use that one communications center. So, I mean, as long as the three systems, the locals, 911, and DART, all jive and have the same information, then it doesn't matter where it is. DART will land there.
Yep.
And the reason that we came up with this idea specifically was we had an accident last year in the area where the guy, he actually ended up limping out of the woods. It's 4 miles to the closest road crossing in Holland. He ended up limping out of the woods on somebody else's sled, but it kind of prompted us to come up with some different ideas. So that's where we're at. As long as it's sizable enough, it doesn't have to be near asphalt at all. I mean, because most places have rescue snowmobiles that they can transport to the landing zone and then transport out that way.
Correct. And I guess ideally, like that spot there, that's where your groomers turn around. So you've got a semi-hard surface for them to land on. And
yes, he said it would be nice if the snow was packed, but it's not a requirement. He just doesn't want, 1/2-inch saplings sticking up. Grass is one thing. And he said a lot of times they'll work with the first responders who will go there with the rescue sled and just start packing it down and just doing circles.
Yep.
But it's not a requirement.
Cool.
I would think, though, it would be reasonable that if it's on a trail, that a groomer, after a snowstorm, a groomer could go through and make a few passes and flatten it down, and it'll be once per snowstorm. It's not like it has to be done every week.
Right. Well, see, that's kind of why I was thinking the Stonehouse stand is a great spot, because just a sheer volume, plus the groomers go in there and turn around,
Yeah.
It's a good sized lot.
I think what we'll continue to do is develop this program. We're not looking for you guys to make a motion tonight. This is just something important that Safety Committee's been working on. And if you have landing zones that you think are, good for your area, I mean, obviously this will help us to be able to reach people in more of a timely manner by having this.
Well, but if we need the board's approval to move forward with this, I think we're ready to move forward with it at this point. Certainly Roger is, and I think, we could act on the one that we have in town.
I think I would recommend that you wait until you have more of a map of where all these landing zones are going to be, and then prospective landing zones would be my recommendation.
So that we can't put signs up yet.
I don't.
Roger's ready to go with that one.
I would think that it would make sense. I mean, to start the program now, and we just add them.
Well, just to give Cindy a little history, I mean, I know she attends some of the safety committee meetings, but we've been talking about this for a year, and there was kind of a drive to establish, okay, what's the list of all the landing zones that we have in the state? And we didn't get much interaction from a lot of the counties, and we got we got some information. Some of it wasn't even related to snowmobiling, like the landing zones weren't even close to the trails. So I think the goal of the safety committee, and Stan can correct me if I'm wrong, was to just start with this, and then basically this is what it looks like, this is how we're going to move forward. And then as clubs come forward, maybe somebody from Chester is riding on the trails in Norton and they see the sign, they're like, oh, we have a landing zone, we should put a sign up too. So they contact VAST, and then they do it as well, and just kind of grow the system from there, kind of like the 911 road crossings were. They just kind of grew as people noticed them being put up. I don't think if we wait for a list to be evolved, it might be a while, unfortunately.
I agree with you, Roger.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
I
see nothing wrong with landing zones. So I think liability wise and everything, it's smart for us to move in a direction that You know, if we can have 6 or a dozen of these around the state, you know, we're not monitoring them. We're not paying for them to be plowed or groomed or anything like that. It just gives a safe place for people to know that they can, you know, where a helicopter can land. I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
And again, for clarification, a lot of these already exist. This is just developing a signage system and a notification system for riders that are out on the trail who might call 911 and say, hey, I happen to be next to this landing zone. And by the way, the coordinates are on the sign. This is where I'm at. It's just going to make things move so much smoother as far as emergency response.
I just would like to add that, you know, in addition to Mike Burns, I agree. I think that it would need to be developed. Not Mike, that you didn't say this, but I agree that in Maine, sometimes you don't even know where you're at, except you know what landing zone you're in, because those are the only signs that are up there. And so, you know, eventually it would be nice to be able to have like the zones and the little signs that tell you what zone you're in. That would be a cost thing and something that we couldn't regulate. I don't, you know, that's just time, you know, it's just, we don't have the time to regulate it, but it could evolve into a system like that, where it would be part of a, like junction signs, like when somebody ordered a new junction sign or a sticker for their junction sign, that it could be on that you're now in this landing zone or something to think about in the future.
Well, I did have the unfortunate opportunity to use those in Maine, and it was very helpful to know where to go. I mean, we had a rider with the stock protruding out his riding pants, and you know, it was very critical that we get him somewhere and get him. And it worked very well at Maine. They were there quickly. We didn't have to give them any coordinates, anything. We told them we're at LZ this, and they were there. It worked very well.
So it sounds like we'd like to vote on the signs that you have developed. The only thing, I guess, listening to all the chatter is, I would wonder if you would want to put your county's 2 initial letters with the number to identify the county that you're in.
The county's name is on that sign.
It is on the sign in full. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there was a lot of information. I didn't retain every piece of it.
Do we have landing zones designated for certain areas, like where the cutoffs are? That was one question I had.
What do you mean?
Well, like 2 of them for Windsor, or right.
Where's the cutoff?
Well, no, Matt, we're not going to have a landing zone in everybody's driveway. Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking, how do we know if it's landing zone 1, 2, 3, 10, 8? Where's the map that shows the designated areas? Is there
Safety
one?
committee will number them as the requests come in.
Yeah, the state actually already has landing zones. You can Google it. There are about a dozen around the state, but like Roger said, they're not always convenient to our trail system. So we're talking about doing like maybe 1 per county. So 14 around the state or 12 around the state.
To start.
Well,
And it's important to
more than that, but
well, and again, I've been in contact with the communications center for Dartmouth, and that sign is exactly the information that they requested to be on it, because that's what they're going to ask for information from the dispatcher and the call taker.
Okay, that's all I was kind of curious about, is, you know, how it was all designated.
So
I think what Matt's asking, in Maine, it sounds like you're in an area and you're supposed to go to this one landing zone. In Vermont, I don't think we want people going to the landing zone unless that's the closest place. Like if they're near a road, they should just go to the road or ask 911, where should I go? Because Roger, you can correct me. There's only 2 helicopters. There's hundreds of ambulances. So if they're closer to an ambulance, they should take an ambulance, not a helicopter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the fire department and the EMS agency are going to determine how they might be close to a road and a helicopter will land in the road. The landing zones are more for just location. And so with the Ben Cole clearing landing zone specifically, there's no roads anywhere out there. So if somebody creams a tree next to in the vicinity of this landing zone, and the caller, the person that calls 911 knows that they're in that area, it's just going to be a lot easier for everybody involved to know that, oh, okay, they happen to be next to this landing zone. And that's where, you know, the local fire department is going to say, hey, we're going to bring them to this landing zone and remove them via helicopter instead of ambulance.
Right, because the snowmobile is not going to be one calling for a helicopter. It's going to be EMS.
Right.
Right, like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I can think of some counties that don't even need a landing zone.
Yeah, we sure don't.
Yeah, and I don't think Lamoille County needs a landing zone, you know. I don't, you know, I can think that Washington County, not near Barry, but if you go up towards Camel's Hump, it's pretty remote. So
Well,
Some of it's not dictated by remoteness. Some of it's dictated by the severity of the accident and the injury.
Correct.
And how they want to use that.
That's true.
Once during snowmobile season and once during the summer as a landing zone. The fire department and the ambulance determined at that point that that person needed to go straight to Dartmouth and not to North Country Hospital. So, yes. Now, I mean, obviously, Chittenden County, that's different because UVM Medical Center is the level 1 trauma center, whereas nowhere else in this state has a level 1 trauma center. They have to either go to Dartmouth or to UVM Medical Center. So it's divided from there. But,
or to
yeah,
Albany
I mean,
if you're in Southwest Vermont.
Right. It's definitely more of just it's just another tool in the toolbox, another location, another benchmark for them to use when they're calling. And just because they say, hey, I'm standing next to this sign that says I'm at landing zone 1 and this is the coordinates, doesn't mean that they are going to get evacuated by a helicopter. It's just to help 911 deal with where their location is. That's all.
And Cindy, I think that is, I mean, when you say Lamoille County, I mean, yeah, you've got the hospital in the airport, but the only thing that I think that with what Roger is saying when you're talking about remotely would be like Jeffersonville, that area, because there's really no place on that side to go. Like when you start getting into Jeffersonville and Creighton, Cambridge and that area. So I'm thinking you'd probably look for something like in that area, which would then be like Southern Franklin County, maybe even.
Good, good, Carmen, good point. Roger and Stan, so are you looking for guidance on, are you going to be asking the different counties in different areas where landing zones could be, or are you asking, I imagine you're asking first responders and maybe state police?
I don't know that we're looking to create a whole bunch of new landing zones. I think what Roger's saying and what my thought was is that if there are landing zones that are currently in place that have easy or are directly accessible by a snowmobile trail, again, like the one in Chester and the one that Roger's already talking about, and then I know he has 1 or 2 others in mind, those would be the ones that we would like to get identified in this system. And then beyond that is probably get the word out through the directors, each county director, to see if there isn't clearly a need for a landing zone and that would be adjacent to a snowmobile trail. I mean, it could be a little league field. It could be any number of open areas that have direct access to the snowmobile trail.
It sounds like you're really just looking for a motion to go ahead with a standardized landing zone sign.
Exactly. That's what we're asking for tonight.
And
how
then
it gets
goes from
carried
that
out
point.
after that is still, a little bit liquid.
Well, Washington County will move to approve the standardized landing zone sign as presented.
Rutland County will second.
Any further discussion on the topic? All right, all those in favor of approving the presented landing zone sign, say aye.
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 Those against, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Stan and Roger. All right, Trails Administrator report, ED report, LVRT report. Was there any questions that anybody had that wasn't included in the reports? All right, move on. Committee reports, Northeast Chapter, Pat, Jeff.
Let's see, the chapter hasn't met, but USA did meet last week, and they're dealing with an issue in Washington State, right, Jeff?
Yes.
With a national forest that just decided to close snowmobiling because other people didn't like it there. So those are the things they fight on a national level. If we need anything from Vermont, we'll let you know. But so far, it's being handled out west.
What park was that, Pat?
I can't. It's not a national park. It's a national forest.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it.
Okay.
I could dig it up, but
It's all right. Snow Trails Conservancy, Jim?
Nothing.
Nothing. Law enforcement, Gary, do you have anything from him, Cindy?
I can just say that law enforcement has been out quite a bit. We sent an email out today to law enforcement. They've been stopping lots of sleds. Sleds that don't have their TMAs, don't have their registrations. Most of them have appointments, or not most of them, but some of them have appointments. So they've got the temporary registrations. Law enforcement is telling them to just go ahead and put their TMA stickers on the sled, even if they don't have the registration yet, just to show that they're partially legal. I rode this weekend and 75% of the snowmobiles I saw were not registered or TMA'd, most of them old. I saw some that had no registration, some that were 5, 10, 15 years old. They're out and about. Morristown has been trained, and they were kind of lacking. I guess they were out Friday night, and they need to, they're probably going to have some wardens do some safety. They were trained, but they were out Friday night doing, Carmen, I see your hand up. Can you just wait a second and I'll, sorry, it's just distracting. So they were out, but they missed a few things on some of the sleds. It happened that one of the other law enforcement leaders around the state was riding personally and was sort of waved through this checkpoint. And then the other people that got through, they didn't ask for safety cards and things like that. So bringing them more up to speed and getting them trained better. But other than that, they are out. There are a lot of people just pulling their old snowmobiles out of the barns right now and getting on them because of their snow. And so other than that, Pat, is there anything else from the committee that you can think of that I'm missing?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, Carmen.
Well, I have a question because I was supposed to get a volunteer TMA and my sled is legal otherwise, but I don't even have a TMA, period. So, I can't even ride because if I get pulled over, I have no way to prove that I have a TMA.
So when did you go to get your TMA from VAS? I'm sorry?
After we discussed it months ago.
Okay, well, it's probably mail. I will look right now and I will tell you that actually, I don't even see that you signed up for a TMA this year. Did you go online and do it with the link that was sent to all the directors?
Yep, because you had to resend it to me and I went out and did it.
Well, I'm not showing it in our system. I'll ask Beth to look into it. She can even look to see if people even tried to enter them. But I'll resend you the link if you'd like, and then Beth will send you a temporary.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed, period, honestly, with the TMA system because, I'd asked you about the registration and I had the receipt for Brian and I went in to do Brian's and it kept saying pending on my card going through. And I finally just called the bank and had to pay $20 to just stop it because it wasn't going through. And I did that during early bird. So honestly, I'm personally just kind of disgusted by how this has all kind of gone through. And
well, I appreciate your frustration. I don't know what to tell you. If it's not in the system, it's not in the system. It wasn't because the system backfired, but we can certainly process something for you tomorrow if you'd like. I can send you the link so you can try it again. But I just pulled your record up and it doesn't look like that you've entered. You've gone in and looked for your volunteer. I have it from last year. from the track packers. So I'll send you the link again, and we'll send you a temporary until it gets there in the mail.
Any other questions for Cindy on this?
The question.
All right, LVRT committee, Ken, anything going on there?
I think we'll have more news next month. It's looking good that likely the state will be taking over project administration of the project that we thought that I would have to run this summer. So that would hopefully save VAST some money and free me up to do some other work. We're still on the hook for maintenance though, and now have 11 new miles of trail to deal with. So that's where we're at.
Any questions for Ken on the LVRT update? All right, thanks, Ken. Awards and nominating, Patty?
Yep, just a reminder, March 1st is a deadline for scholarships. If you know anybody for your clubs. And last year we made a change for the awards and recognition submissions. It's May 1st is the deadline from April 1st. And we're adding a new general form. So if it doesn't fit in a specific category, you're not quite sure, but it's somebody that you feel should be nominated. There's a form that'll be general that people can utilize. And we're also doing volunteer photos to continue with the volunteering thing in the magazine. And we really want to have a diverse look, you know, whether it's landowner signatures, somebody doing something, or signage, or, you know, barbecues, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be current because this year I know is very limited. So anybody has anything with a 1 to 3 line caption, just send it my way. Did I do all right? I'm having internet issues tonight, so hopefully everybody heard me.
No, we can hear you fine. Thank you, Patty. Bylaws and policy, Jeff.
Just need to do a review and make sure that we've got everything straightened out with the online EMA stuff. That was something that was brought up at the Trail Committee's meeting as well the other night. So just got to get on it and start reviewing some of the stuff.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Annual meeting, Pat and Jeff. Any updates?
Yeah, there'll be one.
Sounds good. Executive committee, no. Financial, I don't know if anybody's got any additional questions for Patty. She covered that pretty well. Long range planning, I think we've kind of beat that up. Resource committee, Ivor?
Yeah, that's going along good. Perry Ellis and I have a meeting coming up Monday night, and Patty has done an amazing job in Windsor County organizing all of the clubs there for our meeting. We don't have a meeting scheduled yet, but thank you, Patty, for doing all that coordinating.
You're welcome, Ivor.
Yep, we'll keep you posted.
Are there any questions for Ivor on the resource committee's tasks?
Yeah, I've got one. Is Windsor the only?
Go ahead.
Is Windsor the only county that you've got a meeting set up for?
No, he's doing them on Monday night.
Okay. This just, I know it's a big task, but it seems to be dragging out. I mean, we started this process back in April or May or whatever it was. I know it's a big task, but it doesn't seem like we're gaining much ground on it.
I agree, Jim. Thank you.
We should be moving along a little quicker now that we got meetings scheduled and getting to the point of where we're talking to people and meeting with people. Hopefully we can plug along a little more expediently.
Okay.
I thought your email with your list of questions was very good. So that was great for people to have in advance of meeting with you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, thanks. Personnel, Jeff?
Nothing.
Trails, Jeff?
One thing that being tossed around between safety and trails is a bridge inventory. Again, has a safety aspect of it with assigning GPS coordinates to bridges. I just want to make it clear to directors, as I think it got dropped somewhere along the ball with the Trails Committee. This is strictly voluntary for the clubs. It's not anything that Matt or Ken are driving. So Matt and Ken don't need to be asked questions on it. It's more safety and trails, so questions should go to either Stan or myself, or county trails coordinator. Again, it's strictly voluntary. We're just trying to get something put together as a reference for bridge inventory that can also be used for, again, E911 locations with GPS. This is definitely going to be a long-term project. Nothing that's going to happen immediately. Just so you guys are aware of what's going on. There is a data collection form that Stan has put together, and Tim Park's daughter has done a super job of making it look a little more professional. And Stan and I are going to take care of setting up the database and getting data entry done on it. So again, totally voluntary for the clubs. It'd be great if they all choose to do it, but we also know that they're overworked volunteers. So a lot of them got other stuff to worry about. Most of the information can be gathered as they're doing trail work in the off season. So again, just as Roger says, it's another tool in the toolbox. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Safety, Stan, anything you want to add to what you already discussed?
No, I think the two items were that helicopter landing zone sign, which we've addressed already, and then Jeff just covered the project with the bridge identification that they say has a safety aspect. It kind of started with a safety aspect, but also after hearing Matt talk about a bunch of last minute emergency grant requests for bridge repairs that came in December, I thought that this was also an opportunity to get eyes on the bridges and maybe plan better for needed repairs and upgrades. We had a small meeting too last month, came right on the tail of a snowstorm. So people were busy grooming and clearing snow. So it was a small meeting.
All right, thanks, Stan. Governor's Council, Pat?
I believe the minutes were in your package.
They were.
Again, the biggest thing is that the exhaust legislation has been placed into the DMV miscellaneous bill, so that's moving forward. And state police reported, I don't have the number directly, but it was right around 700 safety classes completed online as of the beginning of January.
Yes. All right, thanks,
Just a
Pat.
question for you. Did by any chance the DMV tell you when they might be getting caught up with getting registrations numbers out and that information?
What they said was that they're booked out a long ways, obviously. And they also said that a lot of people aren't showing up for their appointments. So you might get some walk-in stuff.
All right, thanks, Pat. Any other questions for Pat on Governor's Council items? All right, I think we're all set. Is there any other business to come before the board before we adjourn?
I just wanted to mention to Carmen that we'll resend you the link so you can go get your director TMA.
I did the first week of December. I've got, because I just looked at the email.
Okay, I'm not trying to start anything. It's just our system will tell us even if somebody tries to log in and it doesn't, Beth just said it doesn't show anything. So I maybe the system's wrong.
Well, then I would say you would probably have a glitch because I went through the whole process through the link that you gave me and did everything I was supposed to do. The same thing when I tried to buy Brian's early bird. And
Can we take this offline?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please. Has nothing to do with the state.
Yep, I'll resend the link.
Any other business before we adjourn? I'd accept a motion.
Rutland County make a motion?
Second.
Washington County.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody.